Is that okay with everyone? Just accept that you are okay with the recording. I know lots of people couldn't be here, so because it's so busy. So welcome. If you are on Twitter and you want to use hashtag Ontario Learns or hashtag social media, you can tag at Deltec, or you can tag ALP Learns or myself at JCasa So I would love for you, I know many of you responded with awesome gifts on the Padlet, just made me smile, but just quickly say hello and indicate what your role is and where you're joining us from. Hi, Dean. Hi, Bernadine. Oh my goodness, so many amazing familiar faces. So just throw that in. And if you haven't already, you want to pick up the presentation slide. It is bit.ly/capital OECM. Those are all capitals, and then small JCT1. So please let me know if you are able to access that. And if not, I'll make sure I ensure that you do before the end, but we should be okay. And yes, thank you. If you could mute just so we don't see background noise, that would be amazing. So that's okay, no worries. So just who you are, where you're from, if you haven't had a chance to do it on the Padlet or here anyway. So my name is Jennifer Casa-Todd. I am a teacher librarian with the York Catholic District School Board. I've been in that role for 5 years. Prior to that, I was the literacy consultant for the York Catholic District School Board. I really, really enjoyed that role. But just like one of the participants here, I missed kids, so I decided to go back. I'm also the author of 3 books now. Raising Digital Leaders was newly published, and that is a parent guide to navigating technology. Social Media, Moving Students from Digital Citizenship to Digital Leadership. And I co-authored a book with the awesome Lee Castle, and that's Aubrey Bright in Stories That Connect Us. And I'm also a contributor to Education Right Now, all proceeds of which go to suicide prevention. So I've just, if anyone would have told me, my goodness, you're going to be an author, I don't know. I don't think I would have believed them, but I just feel so blessed to be where I am right now. I'm also a Google certified innovator and trainer, and I won the ISTE Digital Citizenship PLN Award last year, which was a great honor. And I'm a co-founder of the Global Ed Student Chat. You're going to hear a lot more about that. And so thank you for introducing yourself, those of you that are doing so in the chat. I think this land acknowledgement, this poem is so beautiful. So I'd like for us to acknowledge the land from which we all are joining today with this poem by Monique Ara from the Oneida Nation. To acknowledge this land on which we stand is to acknowledge truth. To acknowledge truth is to acknowledge connection and disconnection. To acknowledge connection and disconnection is to acknowledge the nations who care for our mother. To acknowledge our mother is to acknowledge truth. And to acknowledge truth is to acknowledge that truth is at the forefront of the conversation, very necessary conversation. So thank you to ALP for providing that land acknowledgement. And so speaking of, this session is brought to you in partnership with ALP, OECM, and Dell Technologies, and ALP stands for Advanced Learning Partnerships. OECM is a trusted, not-for-profit collaborative sourcing partner for Ontario's education sector and broader public sector and other not-for-profit organizations. They contract with innovative, reputable suppliers to offer a comprehensive choice of quality products and services and generate significant savings for customers. It's designed in consultation with Ontario educators, and this is one of the many offerings that have been curated and selected to support educators in pursuit of our 3 ministry goals: achieving excellent social emotional learning and equity and inclusion. And this one in particular, we are going to be focusing on social emotional learning. A little bit about ALP and what they value. That's certainly important. They value trust. So together we perpetuate trust. Together we cherish the value of people. Together we realize opportunity. and together we serve with gratitude. So thank you to ALP for having me here. And those of you that are not familiar with Zoom, hopefully you've already discovered the chat. If you can keep your microphone muted, that would be awesome. You're welcome to turn on your video. Would love to see you. And if you have, at any point you have any questions, please just throw them in the chat. I will get to them at some point. Hopefully you have picked up the handout, and on that handout is a Padlet where I did ask you to introduce yourselves, but you'll notice that there are 2 additional columns on that Padlet, and they are asking for additional ideas as well as resource sharing. And like I said, we have some awesome people here. I look forward to the sharing. So good to see you. So this evening, I'm going to spend the next few minutes or several minutes contending that we need to change the way we look at things and rethink the role of social media for our K-12 environments. And I'm going to give you 4 big ideas for how to make that shift happen. They're big ideas, so I'm just hoping you just take one. And like I said, there's lots of expertise in the room, so I feel like you're going to get a whole lot of ideas that are going to be shared. We're going to talk about why we need to shift, anchor this in social emotional learning. I use the CASTLE framework, and then we are going to talk about the big ideas. And again, if you're on social media, there are the hashtags and the tags again. So let's start with a few numbers. Number 5 hours that 8 to 12-year-olds spend on the phone, according to a Common Sense Media report in 2019. 7, that's the hours for teens, not including time on homework. 69% of teens used social media every day in 2019. 77% of teens get their news from social media, and this was all 2020 pre-pandemic. All right, those seem like crazy numbers to me. So we've got all these numbers. Social media continues to increase. Every platform has seen an increase, especially over COVID. And yet Common Sense Media reports that only 13% of schools actually use social media in the service of teaching and learning. And I totally get it, but this is part of my why, right? I get that everywhere we look, we think that social media is the reason that the world is going to hell in a handbasket, right? Social media destroys the world. Indeed. And there are, what we need to acknowledge right now are some of the things that I worry about personally, and please add your additional worries or whether or not you agree in the chat, okay? I think we have to worry about attention. Howard Rheingold, who's a professor out of Stanford, tells us that attention is the fundamental building block to how we learn, how we communicate with each other, how groups socialize, how people transform civilizations. And I worry that, we need to make sure that our kids, we continue to have attention on things that are important to us. I am personally worried about perspective, the fact that we can create filter bubbles where we only need to read about things that reinforce our own cognitive biases. We've seen the impact of this throughout the world in the US. And in terms of social emotional learning, this is about self-awareness too. I worry sometimes about communication. I mean, if we worried before, it would seem that now our ability to communicate respectfully in online spaces is at even greater risk. We know that nuance and tone are really tough online. Many don't like to be on video, communicate effectively. That has changed a little bit now that we're back. But again, kids are on social media with increasing frequency. And I so worry about our young people who really determine their worth, and adults too, really, determining their sense of self by the number of likes an image gets and comparing their unfiltered lives to the perfectly curated lives of celebrities or influencers and people that they know. Is this resonating? Are these some of the things that you're concerned about too? and balance, friends. Okay, a prize to anyone who has managed to achieve this, because I don't think that work-life balance actually isn't. I think it's a myth. I don't think it works. But that's one of the things I'm concerned with as well. So, and certainly privacy policies, right? It's a genuine concern. We have to follow the law when it comes to privacy. So I really get why that might prevent some teachers from engaging in the use of social media and technology in the classroom in some ways. And let's face it, we're definitely worried about meanness that we can see in social media. We feel like we're going to open the floodgates if we allow this, and kids are going to cyberbully one another. I love that, Katina. I try for harmony. In my research and over time, one of the things that I have learned that has become very, very clear to me is that every generation has complained about its youth, and every generation has been afraid of technological advances. But what really resonated with me was when I was working on my master's with a specialization in social media and education, these words by Henry Jenkins, who is the author of Participatory Culture in a Networked Era. And he says that we're shutting down opportunities that are meaningful for young people out of a moral panic response to technological and cultural change. And so all of this technology and social media is on around us. And then an additional part of the why is if you look at the top 10 skills of 2025, so many of these skills are connected to technology. They're connected to problem solving, self-management, working with people. And for the first time, leadership and social influence has made that top 10 skills list. And my daughter in her first year at Guelph University learned about Guelph University, and this was pre-COVID several years ago, because Guelph has a Snapchat account for first-year students so that they can familiarize themselves with the university. My daughter worked on a group project for her own university studies. Yes, I'm that old. And it was on Snapchat groups. And of course, almost every business class, marketing class has social media as a part of it. So that's kind of part of the why as well. And like it or not, I know I don't like it. Increasingly, online profiles are becoming the norm. And one of the recent studies said that 85% of employers say that positive online content influences hiring decisions. So that's part of the why we need to shift to positive. The real why for me is a little bit more personal, and it involves my work with the Global Ed Student Chat and my master's that I was telling you about. So I was doing a deep dive into the Global Ed Student Chat, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about this young man named Ned. So I was investigating the tweets and the YouTube panels, discussions of our student leaders to see what impact adult mentorship had on their use of social media. That was my question. And so here comes Ned, very smart, very articulate. When we're having discussions during the Global Ed Student Chat, which is a student-led Twitter chat, just amazing responses. And yet, when I looked at his Twitter, we looked at his Twitter account, it was awful. You could tell that he had no sense of audience. He was sharing as if he was sharing with his friends. And we had to have a conversation with him. And we said, kids are now looking to you as a leader. And so we really need to, let's take a look at this and see what you're sharing and who you're sharing it to. And over time, so he was only with us for about three or 4 months. But in that 3 or 4 months, he really radically changed his use of social media. And then I'm doing this study 4 years later, and his Twitter account is still extremely positive, which showed me now it was a narrative inquiry. So it was a very small study, right? More anecdotal, but it did show me that adult mentorship is an incredibly powerful force. And then listen to what Rylan had to say. Oh, we missed that, didn't we? Hold on. I didn't have any tech difficulties today with my classes, so of course I'm going to have them today. Okay. She says that if we want students to act differently, we need to show them something different. And she basically shares that she wished she had known about the different uses of social media prior to the Global Ed Student Chat. So that's the point. If we want students to act differently, we need to show them something different. And so today I'm going to point out 4 ideas, because the reality is there's a huge chasm between the kids who have an adult mentor who is showing them the way and those who don't. And they're at a disadvantage in some ways. So of the 4 ideas, what I want you to know is that what I've done is anchored them in the CASEL framework for social emotional learning. And if you haven't checked out casel.org/SEL, please do so. That's where the next couple of slides are coming from. So social emotional learning and the use of technology and social media, to me, are so intricately linked, right? Social emotional learning refers to the process through which children and adults understand and manage emotions. They set and achieve positive goals. They feel and show empathy for others. They establish and maintain positive relationships and make responsible decisions. And so with kids being online so much, you can see how the connection is very strong. So when we talk about self-management, we're talking about managing your emotions, identifying stress and management techniques, self-discipline, self-motivation, personal and collective goals, organizational skills, including delaying gratification, right? Again, super important. And what I'm going to do, or what I've done, is I've added these little icons to where the big ideas are. So you'll see that in a couple of minutes. Self-awareness is also something that is going to come up in this presentation, and that is super important. And again, intricately linked to technology. It's the ability to understand your own emotions and your thoughts and your values and how they influence behavior across contexts. And this applies to confidence and purpose as well. Responsible decision-making. How many kids do we see making not very good decisions online, offline too? We know that their brains are still growing, but it's about making caring and constructive choices about personal behavior, social interactions across diverse situations. And relationship skills, the ability to establish and maintain healthy and supportive relationships, listening actively, cooperating, collaboratively, problem solving, and conflict resolution, as well as social awareness. So understanding the perspectives and empathizing with others, including those from diverse backgrounds, cultures, and contexts. So again, you will have all of these on the slides, and they're from CASEL. And so our first idea is to help kids see a variety of perspectives, which really does touch upon 5 of those of the social emotional learning pieces. And the first is when you think of books, right? Rudine Sims Bishops talks about books as windows, mirrors, and sliding glass doors, that kids can see themselves in literature, that they feel like they can look through and walk through them in their imagination. She says it so beautifully. So we do this in our classes, but I think what we need to do is think critically. Well, I know what we have to do is think critically around the texts that we are engaging in with our school, with our students. Are they providing windows, mirrors, and sliding glass doors for all of our students? Or are we still teaching dead white guys reading poetry? Sorry, I was a former English teacher. I had to say that. So certainly books is an important perspective, but I would say another part of this is collectively deciding or creating norms with your classes. So here's an example. There is a link in our handout to virtual classroom norms that I co-construct. And these are some of the things that you might want to have in your back pocket. The most ideal way to do this is to start from scratch and have kids come up with, how can we work to do our best work together, online and offline? And increasingly, what we need to do is emphasize that online and offline behaviors should be more and more the same, that they are enmeshed, and certainly helping our kids to bring that forward. So we give our kids these acceptable use policies, and they're 14 pages long and they sign them. But this really is about making making it about responsible use, about empowered use of technology in your classroom. Please do share your additional ideas. The Global Ed Student Chat, which is the student-led Twitter chat I was telling you about, I would love for you to be a part of it. There is a link in your handout. We start with norms every time, and we have been online since 2017. We've never had any negative comments. And I truly believe it is because we explicitly share our norms every time. And these are some of them. These were co-constructed by our team. So all comments made during the chat should be positive and productive. Be mindful this chat is open to students in K-12. Active participation from all classes is how we learn. We welcome diverse opinions. You may not agree with something someone has said, but we ask that when you're challenging an idea, you respectfully disagree with the idea, not the individual person. And being respectful online includes using language that is inclusive and culturally appropriate. And friends, I think this is key. It's worrisome sometimes to engage kids in diverse opinions, but we absolutely need to do that. And when we do it online, it's risky. You would always start in the classroom first, and then leave the Global Ed Student Chat for us to do it. But here's a great example of how you might do this in your class, in your context, whether you're working with teachers or students. Julie Millen shared this with me many years ago. For older kids, you can use De Bono's thinking hats. But this is really simple because it asks kids to write in role from the perspective of someone who may not share their ideas. And this has been very, very powerful. I've had to scaffold it when I worked with grade 8 students as well as grade 9 students to do this, and I've had to scaffold it a little bit. But here's an example: return to in-person learning. So you're wearing the hat of a parent who's struggling to find care for her children, or you're a student who's doing well in a virtual environment. How would you respond in role in this way? You're a politician who's getting pressure to open schools, or you're a director who's seeing student failure rates go up. I feel like if we are not engaging our kids in perspective taking, it will be very difficult for them to see the perspective of others. We really need to normalize that. One of the things I would encourage you not to do, though, is make sure that we're not including false equivalences. Like, so you would never, vaccines to vaccine or to vaccinate or not vaccine should never be this. But there are lots of really little things where you can engage and roll on this. And I think the more we do so, the better. The other thing I've included and that we do all the time when we ask for peer feedback, we had a design thinking project this past year where we got a class from Malaysia and a class from Vancouver to provide feedback on the students' prototypes before they actually presented the real things. And so these are the conversation starters that we gave kids when they were disagreeing or agreeing, building on the ideas of others. And again, the more we do this, the more we normalize it, the more we could eventually take it offline. So triangle debates, you name it. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Within app, but we used to have the VR goggles. You can still watch all of these beautiful films. They are in 3D, but you can watch them on a regular device and look around. This particular story is called Waves of Grace, and it's a story from 2015. And about an Ebola survivor who uses her immunity to care for orphaned children in her Liberian village. And it's just a beautiful provocation. It really works well with conversations about COVID. Another powerful story was called Clouds Over Sidra. And I did it with young kids. What are some of the things that Sidra might need? She shows us her refugee camp I can't remember where it is, in Syria, I think. Just beautiful, beautiful films that literally transport your kids with a click of a button to an entirely different world that they could never have imagined. So any other ideas for perspective taking, please throw them in here. Google Earth projects are fabulous. We created Google Earth projects. It was led by my student council for Heritage Week. We were able to gather the places, or so either the provinces or the cultures from which students were. And now we're engaging in the work of finding books, finding films, finding a variety of different resources to support the students. But kids, what was amazing in that design thinking project I was telling you about is kids were designing something for a place in India. And I said, have you gone into Google Earth to take a look at that? And they had no idea what India was actually like. And so this can be such a powerful tool for literally transporting our kids into different places in the world and having discussions. And then of course we can leverage our connections. We're going to talk about that in a second to actually connect with them. But if you haven't tried the Google Earth projects, please do so. All right. Idea number 2, empathy mapping. Thank you. Marnie, you might have to tell us a little bit more about that in the Padlet. We'd love to hear more about that. So the second idea, again, it covers all the SEL pieces: self-management, relationship skills, self-awareness, responsible decision-making, and social awareness, is changing the way we look at things. Now, I was heavily influenced by George Couros, who started to talk about digital leadership as using the vast reach of technology, especially the use of social media, to improve the lives, well-being, and circumstances of others. And I still love to share that definition because it really is about changing the way you look at things. Wayne Dwyer says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And this changed everything for me. When I started to see that I had this great power at my fingertips to be able to do good in the world, and when I helped kids to see that, and when I discovered kids doing this, this was a game changer. So when you think about how most kids use social media, and even our experience of social media is going to be very different based on who you follow. So kids and adults alike follow celebrities, influencers, or their friends. Like Ned, they have no real awareness of audience, right? And at any given moment, you can find millions of funny cat videos. And there is a positive effect of watching funny videos. That has been proved. See what I did there? But the reality is there is so much. As a result of COVID, I couldn't actually believe how many zoos and museums and aquariums and authors took to Facebook and YouTube and Instagram Live to get us through. At this very moment, you can go to Bird Brain Technologies, and you can go to their website and program a robot from home using a Nest Live Cam. And I've tried it, and it's so fun. When you look at the potential, it is incredible. But our kids sometimes don't know that. And sometimes they do. So it does require listening as well. One of my good friends, Melissa Hayes, she leverages her own connection in order to Zoom with people from around the world and learn more about them. She does the mystery Zoom where the kids have to ask 20 questions, find out where in the world this other class is from. And it's just an incredible opportunity. And then once you start to connect with the class that way, maybe you can read a book together, or maybe you can engage in inquiry provocation together. So kids understand that there are people behind that technology that they can learn with. And we definitely have to reframe the conversation when it comes to literacy. Literacy is about reading and writing the world, and that world includes technology and social media. And I really love this graphic that Lee put together when we first started the Global Ed Student Chat, because we do use Twitter. And she connected it to the Ontario Language Arts curriculum: reading, writing, media. The kids are decoding, writing with a purpose for an intended audience. They are comprehending, they're reflecting, they're practicing citizenship skills, they're learning new digital literacy skills, they're communicating, collaborating, on and on and on. So you're welcome to use this. I often do when I'm asking kids, or when I'm working with teachers, to reframe the conversation. And you could connect with people without connecting online. So I love this example that Adam Hill uses. So he had iTime or Genius Hour, and his kids were doing a variety of different projects. And so he created a Google spreadsheet, and the kids on the spreadsheet wrote down their provocations, their inquiry questions, and what information they were looking to use. And then he put it on Twitter, leveraged his own connections. I've included it on the handout, Twitter lists for international, and I have one called International EDUs. So you can tag people from all over the world, and you can get information for your kids. So his kids weren't actually online, but he used that spreadsheet in order to share with his kids all of the expertise that is in the world that people were so willing to share with his kids. A class social media account is the best way to make sure you're following the law, to communicate effectively with parents, but also to show kids how they can use social media and technology differently. And so I would say begin with a purpose. So will you use it for a unit? Is it going to be a consolidation once a week? What format are you going to use? And I'm going to give you a couple of examples of other teachers and what they've done. So Kayla Dornfield, she has a digital citizenship boot camp. She has her kids dressing camo, she dresses in camo, and they do a whole bunch of different activities from Common Sense Media on digital citizenship. You can go to the Google has, gosh, I'm losing the name of it. The Interland that is very game based, also all about digital citizenship. So they have this boot camp, but then they have a Twitterer of the day, an Instagrammer of the day, and a Snapchatter of the day. And the kids rotate through all of this so that they aren't just getting the one and done digital citizenship lessons. They're actually applying it. Of course, Kayla is pressing send, but the work, the thinking, the tweaking, that happens in collaboration with the teacher. And Ryan, who wrote a little testimonial for social media, wrote a little vignette, said, I want to be proud of my social media accounts when he was in grade 3. And I wish I could say that there weren't grade 3 kids on social media, but my goodness, having done a middle school, like an elementary school presentation, there are. Another idea, my friend Stephanie, she tried an Instagram account. She wanted to showcase what the kids were doing. You know, if you have kids, they come home and you say, what did you learn today? Crickets, nothing. So Stephanie, in order to combat that, thought, okay, I'll create an Instagram account. She put out a letter to parents saying, this is our why. I want to be able to share what we're doing in class. She only had 25% of parents who felt comfortable with their kids' faces being online. And she decided, I'm going to go with it anyway. And she just focused on the work, which really is a great thing anyway. So we're showing we can do great things without having our faces online. Slowly over time, though, she had 95% of her parents join, and she actually ran an Instagram session for her parents because they really appreciated the opportunity to have the window inside their classroom. And then another idea, which my friend Rob Canone engaged in, and this is, there have been Edutopia articles about classroom committees and what they look like. So he had an eco committee, so environmental recycling, that sort of thing. He had a tech committee. They had to wipe down devices and plug them in and make sure they were in good working order. And then he had a public relations committee. And he had the public relations committee created the weekly blog, which they added to their website. And then he had them using Twitter. And so they devised the tweets, which consolidated their learning. It was only once a week. The classroom committees rotated through. So all the kids got an opportunity to go through all of the different committees. When you talk to these kids, when I talked to them afterwards about their classroom, they really felt like it was a family. In fact, some of the kids said, we are like puzzle pieces. All of us are necessary for our classroom to work effectively because of the classroom committees. And I mean, I'm thinking a kindness squad, more on that later. And then when you set up a rotation for kids, I don't know about you, I have the worst memory ever, but when I have a rotation set up for kids, they remind me. And a grade level account, if your teachers are maybe interested, but not quite comfortable. I know that this is what the Adam Hill in Hong Kong did. They created a grade level account. You can check it out at VSA Year 4. And they shared learning ideas with their community. And again, they engaged their kids in creating the posts that they posted on them. Okay. And you might be asking, well, where's the pedagogy behind this? Where's the research? We've been using the gradual release of responsibility model for literacy and numeracy for years. And so we know that it's effective. 1983 is the date of that. So this is a gradual release of responsibility where we're engaging in teacher modeling. We're doing this together and then really trying to normalize student information. That's my aunt. She calls me at this time and I put it on. Can you hear that? I put it on do not disturb, but she's still there. Sorry, friends. This is real life online. When you have a class social media account, you can also engage in think alouds. This is when, and again, I did this for literacy when I was at the board. This is when you're literally articulating your thought processes. This is what I'm thinking when I'm reading. This is what I'm thinking when I'm posting, right? My notifications are on and we need to focus our attention on what's happening in the classroom. I'm going to turn them off right now. You may not even have had your notifications on, but again, it's a think aloud. It works really well. I think this headline is trying to draw us in. I think that's called clickbait. We're not falling for it. Or if we fall for it, we need to find 3 other credible sources. So that kind of thinking aloud can work really effectively when you have a class account. And I read a book called We Got This by Cornelius Minor. He talked about class meetings in a way that I had never really seen before. He talks about them as a way to connect. Like I always used it to correct a behavior. Okay, friends, we're having a class meeting. Yesterday, everyone was totally out of control. He uses it to connect, not correct. And I love this. So he brings points of discussion into the classroom to see what the kids value, what their opinions are. My niece, she's really down lately and I live so far away. What can I do to cheer her up? Is there an app or something? Can you help me? Or, you know, my kid's on Roblox now, or anything that he wants their opinion on, he talks about it and then gets the kid's opinion. They feel like they're so integral to his life. They're giving him all this advice. It really helps the relationship, but he's also seeing what they value and really great conversations come out as a result. And conversations are necessary because in 2018, there was a study, and then in 2017, there was a study, it was redone in 2019. Of the middle school students studied, 80% of them believed that an advertisement with the word sponsored content was real and credible. And in 2019, that study was done. It's by Stanford of high school kids, and it was 90% of kids that had difficulty. One of the things I always suggest is that we start with uncredible news sources. Our kids are getting their media online, on Snapchat, on BuzzFeed. Why do we start with credible news sources? Let's do the opposite. Let's start with something I saw on BuzzFeed. Let's find 3 credible resources to substantiate whether or not this is real. And when we normalize, when we do this often enough, what I would love to see is kids being super skeptical of everything that I put in front of them. And one of the ways that I know I do this, and I have resources for this as well. This is a sketch note by Jen Giffen. It's a media triangle. I have been using it since I started teaching, I got to say 28 years ago. Do kids understand that all media is a construction, that all media contains value messages, that different audiences interpret media messages differently based on their own values, that they all have unique forms of conventions, and that they have special interests. They're trying to make money. So again, in the context of our classrooms, the more we can show that media is construction, the more we recognize that there are inherent beliefs in what this person has posting. And when I read it or see it, then I'm responding with my own beliefs. Then kids will come to a better understanding of that. Because right now, their parents aren't necessarily helping with this. We know that learning experiences that are embedded in authentic situations are not merely useful, they are essential, and knowledge must be applied in context in order for it to be used and made explicit. And that's the theory of situated cognition. Idea number 3. Lots of ideas. I just want you to take one. Please don't be overwhelmed. I know it's been a hard startup. But idea number 3 is, wherever possible, seek out and follow inspiring young people and organizations. And this is just so important for kids to see that there are kids that are out there that are making a positive difference in the world. I love this. I don't think you can hear it. Can you? Here. Isn't that so beautiful? It's Ruben Harris. He's a cellist. He's modeling this for his nephew. And look at him. Look at his nephew. I love it. Our kids, they look up to us for so much. We don't just teach them. We feed them sometimes. We love them. We have stepped up in this pandemic, honestly, in ways that are astounding to me, and sometimes even at our own personal expense. Our kids look up to us and the words that we say, and we have no idea the seeds that we plant. In 10 years, I had a student contact me on Facebook from 10 years ago. So this is why mentoring matters so much. And that's reinforced by the theory of observational learning. It tells us that learning attitudes, values, and styles of thinking and behaving happens through observation of the examples that are provided by others. So who are our kids' social media mentors and role models? Some of them are awesome, some of them not so much. So I'm going to give you a couple of kids. Chloe Cares, incredible. Wizard Chopra, Wonder Chopra, all about, if you're doing sustainable development goals, you want to connect with these kids, you want to mention these kids. I should go back to Chloe for a second because that went really quickly. Chloe, this is a community fridge that she started. She created little toiletry bags to deliver homeless, and the idea has just exploded. And so you can use some of the ideas that these kids are sharing with your own kids. And I think that's incredible. Another thing that I just started this year, but I've been talking about it for so long. I know this works because other schools have done this. Take a look at the cyber seniors.
Is there anything you would want to learn from the internet?
Could you explain a bit about this Facebook something,
Okay.
and you're having to be a friend?
I typed in www.email.com.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Have you ever heard of YouTube?
Yes, I've heard of it, but I have no clue as to what it means.
How many people here have used a computer? Well, we have some teenage volunteers who are willing to teach you how to use the internet.
I think I'm too old.
Hope you have lots of patience, Henry.
Today we're gonna go on Facebook. Do you remember how to get there?
Well, I think I just, no.
All these things that I never even dreamed about.
I love it.
Welcome to a whole new world of information.
Every time we're together, Shreya just wants to watch cooking tutorials on YouTube.
There's a big game called Minecraft. Maybe we could cook something that looks like one of the characters in Minecraft.
Hi, everybody on YouTube.
We should have you doing a music video.
My teeth are as fresh as hot popped corns, my OG teeth.
All of the other seniors are so inspired, so we're gonna have a contest to see who gets the most views of their YouTube video.
Hello, YouTube.
Hello, YouTube. Hello, YouTube.
Today we are talking about travel.
Music.
Sisterhood.
Millie and Evelyn's is beating mine. I need more hits. on YouTube.
This is the big moment that you've all been waiting for. The first prize winners of the Cyber Seniors competition goes to...
We all know how difficult it is to learn something new, but we really do feel that it can change your life.
So you got a friend request from...
Hello, Yeo. Who's he?
He's in the same program.
Hold on a second, you got a message. Sure, Edie. Hello, Ellard.
Oh dear. Look at here, Ellard is typing.
Oh, hello, Ellard. Hello, Shura.
Megan said, thank the people who taught you.
You're welcome. Love you. They see a program like this and they think it's an opportunity to get in touch with their grandkids and to communicate.
No matter how old we are, we do need a purpose for getting up in the morning.
And certainly through COVID, we saw how crucial it was to stay connected with loved ones. And so they are offering lots of virtual opportunities. They have webinars to support you and your students along the way. It really is an incredible program, and I'm so excited to get started with it at my school. Another really amazing group of kids is the founders of Impact Without Contact. So they saw a need. Right? Here's a group of grade 12 students who saw a problem, the isolation of seniors, the need to support frontline workers. They mobilized, they got support and encouragement of one of their teachers, their English teachers, and create this organization. And from that, again, I showed my kids at school this. And so our kids created a school-wide initiative where they collaborated with Impact Without Contact. And we created videos to send to, I think this is the video that we sent to hospitals. We also sent letters to youth shelters. And when I talked to the kids afterwards, when they reflected, they said it was one of the most powerful and moving experiences, because they often take for granted how lucky they are to live in a home that is happy. At least my students had that perspective, and it was really, really beautiful. So you're welcome to look at that later. There is also a program called Fearless Kids Around the World. It's based on Carmen Sandiego, and it is explicitly anchored in the CASTLE framework. There are lesson plans that are ready to use. They connect to all kinds of curriculum like protecting the environment and wildlife, medical care, bullying, learning differences. I have also given you a link to the Student Digital Leadership Playbook that I created for my Google Innovator project. And there's where it says digital role models, you can click on that. And again, there are a ton of kids out there. And you know what's really fascinating? If you start to showcase some of these kids, believe it or not, your kids might just be kids who are doing really good things in the world. I was totally surprised when I had this conversation and I showcased a blog of someone, and one of my students said that they reviewed books for other people and showed the website and had all these really great opportunities to meet authors. So sometimes we just have to ask. All right, idea number 4, I think the most important idea. Again, we want to see something different. We need to show kids something different. We need to create a culture of kindness and gratitude. In the chat, please share some of your ideas, or if you get to the Padlet, please share some of your ideas. These are about relationship skills and social awareness. And for me, it could be something as simple as Thank You Thursdays. Every Thursday, we're going to thank someone. Have you ever thought of the fact that we watch YouTube videos in school all the time? We embed them and hide them in our Google Slides, and I get it. We don't want kids to see ads, et cetera, et cetera. But what about if once a week or even once a month, we stopped and said, that was such a great video. I would love, let's put together a little thank you for that YouTube creator. What should we say? And you don't even have to be on YouTube. You can put it on a Google Doc and then you show them that you're going to copy and paste it. Do you know how happy that would make a YouTube creator? And do you know how much it would help to create a culture of gratitude and thank you? Celebrate Monday. That is a hashtag that Sean Gaillard has started. So today's Monday. Let's celebrate Monday. What's one thing we have to celebrate? gratitude prompts. We could have gratitude Mondays. And these are some really awesome prompts that that Wholehearted School Counseling had shared. A strength of mind for which I'm grateful for. Kids really struggle with knowing their own strengths. What is something money can't buy that you're grateful for? And again, Melissa, I talk about her often because she's awesome. But Melissa celebrates Monday by putting her kids' first names on a wheel. She spins the wheel, and this is after they've gotten to know each other a little bit, and they share why the kids share why they are grateful that that child is a part of their family. Every single child gets recognized for something. And all you do for that is you go to wheelofnames.ca, you put in the names of your kids, you press click, and you can remove it. It is so easy to do and can make such a dramatic difference in your classroom, because the reality is that every gesture of kindness has an impact. And we so often focus on kindness in person that if we want to see, again, if we change the way we look at things and we start to do some of the kindness acts online, we start to normalize that a little bit. Tamara Letter, she wrote A Passion for Kindness. So she has her kids create passion projects. She got a grant initially, and every child got $10. And then for $10, they had to create what they were going to do with their $10. That was a kindness passion project. You're welcome to take a look at hers. She's done them every year. And then I love the sharing. So Maria, thank you. Gratitude journals. Do you want to unmute your mic and share that?
With students, I've done gratitude journals where it's just point form and they can list between 3 and 5 things that they're grateful for. And I just really find that the more, just what I said in the chat, that the more we look and pay attention to gratitude moments, the more we see them. Because we're
Thank you. That's awesome. Does anyone else have something that they share in their classroom in terms of kindness? I often think, what if just once a year, students could use social media for good in the context of their classes? What difference would that make? You know? And then I think about everything we have to do, right? The curriculum expectations. Now we have to check every kid who comes in for COVID. Now, right? It feels like the list is on, it goes on and on and on. And I feel like we have to sometimes just take a step back from that. And we have to acknowledge that this may not be for everyone, but the more we do this, or even if we impact that beautiful story of by Lauren Isley about the starfish. Do you know that story where the old man is walking by and there are thousands of starfish and they're on the sand, and a little boy is throwing them in one by one. And the man says, "There are millions of starfish. What are you doing?" And it's not going to make a difference. And he says, it made a difference to that one. And I think that if we just focus on small steps, that it'll make a big difference. Yeah, it's one of my favorites too. And maybe it's just in our own lives, maybe we're not ready yet with our students, but how are we using our own accounts to shift the current narrative? If students followed our accounts, would they see us exemplifying digital leadership? Are we using our own power and influence to make a positive difference? If we can, because I really feel like we're at a crossroads. You know, we can sit and wait it out. We could say, oh no, like privacy and data, and it's not our problem, and this should be a parent thing. We're already doing so much. We can continue that same road where we block and ban and we tell kids what not to do, and we never really show them what they can do. Or we can change the way we look at things, and the things that we're looking at might change. Teaching the SDGs. Thank you, Marnie. All right, we're going to use the wheel of names apparently. So I thank you so much for listening to my ideas, for coming out. And we do have prizes. Katina, you can take it away with the prizes. So use the wheel of name, complete the form. Okay, so if you complete the form that she's put in there, we're going to use the wheel of names for some prizes. And thank you, Intel, for the prizes. And in addition, You can pick one of another lucky person can get either Social Media or Raising Digital Leaders or Aubrey Bright in Stories That Connect Us. I will send one to you as well. So let's give you all a moment. If anyone wants to unmute and ask a question or share something, please take the opportunity to do so. Is someone talking?
Hi, Jennifer. It was just me. It's Marnie.
Hi, Marnie.
I just wanted to say I've enjoyed this immensely, and we're right now, well, we started this work last year sort of behind the scenes, and we're now like ready to push it out to our board, and we're really trying to do all the things that you're talking about around digital citizenship. So just really excited. I just wanted to say this is such an important and passion of mine as well, and I'm learning so much here. And yeah, just putting a plug in for you.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate your kind words. I do. And I really feel like, I think we know now we need to focus on social emotional learning, right? It needs to be part of what we do. And that is, again, intricately connected. The link to the handout is there again. I'll throw it back in the chat. But the one thing I did not mention that I want to point out is that Common Sense Media has just published a really, really awesome resource that is connecting digital citizenship to social emotional learning. And it's, okay, so let me stop sharing and then maybe bring that up just to show you. So I'm not sharing anything right now, right? Okay, I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay, so let me. All right, so that link will get you to this handout, which you can just use. And I'm going to share my screen, desktop, hopefully. Yeah, I'll do desktop. Okay, so it's here, Common Sense and Media SEL Digital Life. I have an account. I think you might need an account, but they have a video there. And then it's divided up into grades 8, K to 5, 6 to 8, 9 to 12. And it's brand new. So I'm in grades 9 to 12, but you can obviously pick up which one you want. And so it's self-awareness. Who are you on social media? Screen time. How much is too much time? Perspectives on posting, right? For responsible decision-making, relationship skills, social awareness, including hate speech. So you can see how powerful this can be. I really just wanted to bring that to your attention on the handout. I'm going to stop sharing. And okay, perfect. Oh, yeah, it is awesome, Dana. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so what do you think, Katina? You ready for some prizes?
Absolutely. First, though, I really want to thank you, Jen. I've been copiously taking tons of notes while you were talking. Just so many rich examples of the positive things that are happening. And I think, just like you're saying, this is what we need to focus on and model, and just make sure our kids really understand the power of kindness and how we can use it in our social media so it becomes normal. I love it. So it's just a very, very powerful presentation, all in 1 hour. You were incredible.
So fast.
Yeah,
I didn't think I would be able to have words, actually, because I had such a lot, like teaching back to back. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to speak.
Well, you're amazing.
Thank you.
Really. And
all right.
I really like that we're having a recording too, because I can go back and listen. So I do have the wheel of names in front of me now. Is there anyone else? I will do that in a second. Is there anyone else who still wants to add to the doc before I bring the wheel up? Okay. So if not, I am going to go to the wheel of names. so that we can see how this works. And this is just as much fun when you can click and spin. So here we go. Everybody find your name if you put your name on there. And I'm going to do 2 spins for some gift cards for Uber Eats. We'll start with those 2 and then we'll go for the book for Jen. Okay, so here we go. Spin that wheel, who's lucky tonight?
Yay, Maria.
Yay.
Okay, Maria, you're the winner, chicken dinner, whatever it may be. All right. Okay, so I'm going to
So if you've never used wheel of names, just this is how it works. Literally, you put the names on the side and then you remove the person's name when you've done them. So if you're like me and you can't remember which kid you celebrated.
Here we go. Okay, so you'll see Maria's name has now been removed.
Yep.
Now we do the second spin for the next Uber Eats card. Here we go. All right, Dana.
Yay.
All right, awesome. Congratulations, Uber Eats cards. And now these are pretty good probability here on the book. So let's see. Here we go for an amazing book by Jennifer. And Lori.
So I have your email because you registered, Lori. So I will contact you and grab your address. Thank you so much to ALP and to Dell for having me. I really appreciate it. And thank you all. It's so hard. So I so appreciate your time.
That's wonderful. And Jen, you have another session next week, I believe. So
I have 2 more sessions. I have
Awesome.
a amplifying student voice using Flipgrid, one of my favorite tools. And then I have digital storytelling, which again, awesome. Both of those are, well, if I do say so myself, lots of good sharing.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to it. And I hope all of you have a wonderful evening wherever you are in Canada. And because I can see we have some friends from BC in the house. So that was great that they were able to join us as well. So, and then I know Bernadine was saying she's from New Brunswick. So we're right across Canada, coast to coast, which is just
so
beautiful.
great to see you. And Karen,
Awesome.
It's been so long. Bernadine, it's been so long.
So wonderful. Have a great night. Tell your colleagues, tell your friends, sign up for these great courses because this is rich, powerful presentations, content courses that we really want to make sure others have a chance to listen to. So take care, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
Hey, thank you very much. Where are you going to put the recordings?
It'll actually go right back on the OECM site. We'll put a YouTube link right underneath it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.